Well, welcome everybody. This is the meditation from the School of Christian Meditation on the 30th of May. I'd like to begin with some definitions. This is from a 12th century book called The Ladder of Monks. And this is definitions of what meditation and contemplation have traditionally meant in Christianity, because the words have been used in different ways and rather changed. Reading is the careful study of the scriptures, concentrating all one's powers on it. Meditation is the busy application of the mind to seek, with the help of one's own reason, for knowledge of hidden truth. Contemplation is when the mind is in some sort lifted up to God and held above itself, so that it tastes the joys of everlasting sweetness. So I'm going to take us on a journey through reading and meditation, and I hope into contemplation, which is simply putting ourselves before God so that we can, with God's grace, be raised above ourselves. And the passage I'm going to use for the meditation is from the readings that we used this morning in our morning prayer, and specifically a reading from the book of Numbers, which is quite a well-known story about Balaam and his donkey. I'll just read through it. So Balaam got up in the morning, saddled his donkey, and went with the officials of Moab. God's anger was kindled because he was going, and the angel of the Lord took his stand in the road as his adversary. The donkey saw the angel of the Lord standing in the road with a sword drawn in his hand. So the donkey turned off the road and went into the field. So Balaam struck the donkey to bring it back onto the road. Then the angel of the Lord stood in a narrow path between the vineyards with a wall on either side. When the donkey saw the angel of the Lord, it scraped against the wall and scraped Balaam's foot against the wall, so he struck it again. Then the angel of the Lord went ahead and stood in a narrow place where there was no way to turn either to the right or to the left. When the donkey saw the angel of the Lord, it lay down under Balaam, and Balaam's anger was kindled, and he struck the donkey with his staff. Then the Lord opened the mouth of the donkey, and it said to Balaam, "What have I done to you that you have struck me these 3 times?" Balaam said to the donkey, "Because you have made a fool of me." Then the Lord opened the eyes of Balaam, and he saw the angel of the Lord standing in the road, with his drawn sword in his hand. And he bowed down, falling on his face. The angel of the Lord said to him, "Why have you struck your donkey these 3 times? I have come out as an adversary because your way is perverse before me. If the donkey had not turned away from me, then surely I would by now have killed you and let it live." Then Balaam said to the angel of the Lord, "I have sinned, for I did not know that you were standing in the road to oppose me." The angel of the Lord said to Balaam, "Go with the men, but speak only what I tell you to speak." This is a complex story with many layers of interpretation, but a primary theme relates to the ego. Balaam was acting from his ego as a spiritual mercenary, making spells, blessings, and curses for financial gain. Although prompted by God, acting through the donkey to avoid the wrong path, Balaam fought against it, admitting his fault only when he knew that he was found out, and then doing the right thing only on pain of death. The ego is the sense of individual and separate self, separate from the Lord, sometimes called the false self. The ego is the great tempter and deceiver. The ego is Satan, the Lord of this world. No one can see God whilst the ego is alive. When the ego dies, then sin is wiped away. Leave a time of silence now, just to reflect on the story of Balaam and his ego, leading him against the wishes of God, even though he was prompted and ignored the prompts. How often does that happen? to take us more into contemplation, where we simply place ourselves before the Lord. I'd like to begin with a passage from the writings of Jacopone da Todi, a 13th century Franciscan friar. Here's what he said. In God, the spiritual faculties come to their desired end, lose all sense of self and self-consciousness, and are swept into infinity. The soul made new again, marveling to find itself in that immensity, drowns. How that comes about, it does not know. And some passages from an ancient Sanskrit scripture called the Bhagavad Gita. I shall tell you now about being wholly that itself. This is the secret of all the scriptures. This is rare to come by. That in which no defect has arisen, that which is the place that is changeless, and in which, indeed, the ego is destroyed, ever abide as that itself. By knowing which all is renounced, by knowing which nothing else remains, and by knowing which there is nothing else to be known. Ever abide as that itself. That in which there is no conception of beings, in which there is no existence of anything separate, and in which there is no differentiation as the ego, ever abide in that itself. That in which there is no fear of sin, nothing of the 5 great sins, and in which there is no defect of attachment, ever abide in that itself. That in which thought is dead, in which one's body and mind are dead, and wherein memory finally dissolves, ever abide as that itself. That in which the actions of speech and body and the eon itself have ended in dissolution, and in which the manifest universe is yet unborn, ever abide as that itself. That in which there is only the consciousness of existence, in which consciousness alone is all there is, and in which shines the fullness of bliss, ever abide as that itself. So we emerge now gently from contemplation, knowing that we've placed ourselves before God in the hope that through His grace we'll be more able to follow His will and recognize when we're being prompted to do that, instead of blindly following our own ego. This concludes this morning's period of meditation and contemplation.